through Williams, through Flag, all the way up to Gray Mountain, Cameron, Tuba, all the way up to Kayenta, and then through up to the U Mountain Ute territories near Blanding, Utah. That's the route, the 300 miles. Even though we've heard Energy Fuels representatives come to the city council chambers and lie straight face, right? Saying, oh no, we're not going to go through Flagstaff, we're going to go through this alternate route. They keep talking about this alternate route like it's the only option that they have. But in the Forest Service environmental impact statement, that's outdated. It was created in 1986. How many people were born after 1986 here? So this environmental impact statement is older than y'all.
Oh no, before.
And that's what they're relying on. We want to make sure not only do we get a resolution that says that we don't want this coming through our community, but we want a strong resolution that calls on this, Energy Fuels and these governmental agencies to shut down canyon mines, because we don't want it even coming out of the ground, right?
Right. We're here to protect the waters, the trees, the animals, the air for the future of your children. We've been fighting the uranium mining companies for over 50 years. We just went to the Grand Canyon South Rim, the orphan mine. Small traces of contamination has been found. We're looking to clean it up. Thank you.
Been in the struggle for over almost 50 years, since the 80s or even before that with the orphan mine. The orphan mine started back in the 50s, 1950s, and they were telling us that that was the biggest uranium mining ore area in that area at that time. And I kept asking them, well, how much ore did they dig up, you know, but that's the information that they didn't give me. But hopefully I'll do my research on it, or somebody will give me information back on it, on the orphan mine, how much, you know, ore that they took from the Grand Canyon. But they're working to clean up that area. It's right in the national park, right on the rim area, the orphan mine, you know. And I don't know, visitors when they come to the south rim of the Grand Canyon, if they know that or not. And I don't know even if they know to this day too, when they come to the Grand Canyon, that the canyon mine is just right there, that they're passing right by it, you know, every single day that they go to the canyon. And but you know, we don't need to give up. We still need to continue the struggle and the fight for our future generations, each and every one of us, you know. Water is survival, they say, but literally for my people, you know, we have Havasupai, people on the blue-green waters, and that's who we are. I don't know if you ever been to our village, but yeah, the river runs through our village, you know, and we've been told that that water doesn't belong to us, you know. But then again, who does the water belong to? The water doesn't think like that either. Water does not think that I belong to this person or I belong to this group of people. The water doesn't think that way. It belongs to everybody. We need to protect it. But again, thank you.
Good evening, beautiful people. Good to see you guys out here. I have two pictures right here that I took of my community. This is our reality down in Cameron. And that's what we live with every day. Open minds and cleanup is slow. So now they're going to transport uranium through my town again. And please says hell no, I say hell no. So this is our reality right now. And these pictures speak more than what I would say. We got a mother, expecting mother, living next to these signs, you know, worried about her unborn. And this kid's imagination is being blocked by this sign. His creativity. He can't play up in those hills. He's limited to stay awake. So this is our reality. And this is going to be Flagstaff's reality. If one of those trucks, two of those trucks spill here, this town is dead. We've lost a lot of our loved ones through cancer, birth defects, our animals, and our water is no good. So this is reality, guys. the little Colorado River is contaminated, and that water is going into the Colorado and the Grand Canyon. So this mine that's next to the Grand Canyon, might as well just tell California goodbye. All those people that use that water, they're going to be affected. And they need to know this. They need to be educated about this. And Forest Service. I'm mad at the Forest Service. I think they should change their name. They're supposed to protect the forest, protect the animals, protect the people, protect the land. But yet they go on and approve all this stuff. Approve Snowball. They approve the uranium mines. They're not there to protect. So I think they need to change their name to something else, because they're not protecting the forest. Thank you.
But we also want to demand that they pass an ordinance to restrict the transport of uranium through our communities, because that's part of their prerogative. They've gone up to bat and they've had the political will to shut down and engage in other political fights, and this is a fight that they need to stand up and have a political backbone for tonight. So we're urging them not only in supporting the passage of this resolution, but to shut down the opportunity for Canyon Mine to even go through this community, because then that will help safeguard the rest of the communities down the line. And not only are we looking at addressing the Canyon Mine, but it's important to recognize that the Trump administration The Trump administration is trying to lift the ban on uranium mining, the moratorium, the 1 million acre moratorium that was passed in 2012 around the Grand Canyon. They are looking at lifting that ban. And you know what we faced back in 2010? The reason that ban was implemented is because there was over 3,000 new claims for uranium mines around the Grand Canyon alone. So that is a scary future that is no future. We have no future in uranium mining. There's no future in nuclear. And the Grand Canyon is one of the last places on Earth they should be mining uranium. And so this is the message that we need to send, is that if we can shut down the Canyon mine, right, we need to take the success that we'll hopefully have, we better have here today. The power of the people demands it, right? Yeah! Yes! And so we got to take that momentum and energy and shut down that attempt by the Trump administration to wage further nuclear war and genocide against our people by trying to lift this moratorium. We need to keep uranium in the ground.
When Mother Earth is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When Mother Earth is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Item number 14A, consideration and adoption of resolution number 2017-38. This is a resolution of the Flagstaff City Council opposing uranium mining and the transportation of uranium or through the city of Flagstaff and indigenous lands, and affirming Flagstaff as a nuclear-free zone.
My name is Emily Melhorn. I'm a board member of Friends of Flagstaff's Future. F-Cube supports the resolution to oppose uranium transport through Flagstaff. We know that this resolution is mostly symbolic, but it is an important gesture to reiterate our values and protection of our neighborhood, our neighbors and community. F-Cube asks for careful consideration of a city ordinance, of whether a city ordinance opposing transport would be a fruitful effort. F-Cube encourages the council to explore how to take action at the state level against uranium transport. We also ask you to communicate to us, the public, on the best way to move forward in fighting this issue. I assume there's a lot of people tonight who support the resolution. Could you raise your hands? Yeah. All right. As you can see, there are many people in this community tonight who care deeply about this issue. Please guide us on how we can effectively reach our common goals in protecting our community. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Devonna Blackhorse, and I work here at Flagstaff Medical Center in the inpatient unit in the behavioral health section. And I work with clients that have lost a lot of their existential purpose because they've been forced away from their homes due to a lot of this contamination. And a lot of this internal oppression has led to things such as substance and suicide for our communities. So many of our relatives are here tonight and are direct descendants of historical trauma, which is what this is. As a cumulative group, we have historical unresolved grief. And today, we're still burying our relatives through these social ills and through contamination that affects not just our people, but our animals and our medicinal plants that we use to heal ourselves. And a lot of the Western therapies that we use in counseling don't work. And people wonder why. It's because there's been a disruption in our healing practices, in our way of life. And so it's really hard to try to grieve the losses that we have had since colonization has started, and we started losing people in numbers due to these resources being taken. So we would hope that we could grieve our losses. We're tired of burying our people, and we don't want this hall no. And I hope that you guys consider all the things that we say today as something that's really important, because we are fighting for who we are and we're fighting for our identity. So, thanks.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. Thank you for giving me this time. My name is Milton Stowe. I'm also representing Cameron. I am the chapter president of Cameron. So I'm kind of like a mayor, too, of Cameron. But they call me the president. So. No, I'm just kidding. But, my son's taking out some pictures. This is our reality, Cameron. These signs exist near homes, next to kids, children. I don't know if you got the chance to see them really close, but you know, part of the route is through my town, and I was elected to protect my people. So uranium doesn't belong to us. It belongs to our Mother Earth. It belongs to her. It's her defense probably against us if we ever, destroy the Mother Earth. Earlier, you guys were talking about water and rate increase, decrease. I know it was reclaimed water, but this is going to affect your drinking water. It's going to affect your town. It's something that we must stand against. Not only uranium mining, but any type of mining that destroys our water. And for me, I take uranium personally. I have a grandfather who's dying slowly because he was a mine worker and they weren't educated on the dangers of uranium. And so this personally affects me, as well as my little sister there who's going to have a baby, and her son who can't play beyond those signs. And they live right below those signs. So, the dangers, it's not the question of when an accident's going to happen. Well, I guess that's the question. When it's going to actually happen. If you're having trucks, going through your town, it will happen. Spillage, a wreck, your town, maybe my town, maybe to the city. My town, we're ill-prepared for something like that. We're not trained into cleaning up a spill. We're not trained into how to deal with it. We're still dealing with open pits around my town. Over 100 mines just around Cameron, if you didn't know, that are still open, and we're still trying to get those cleaned up. And I've lost a lot of relatives to cancer. A lot of my people that live in Cameron that got cancer from the mines. So it's there, and we're being ignored, and please take a stand in Flagstaff. Not for us, for your town, for my town, for Tuba City, Kayenta, and all the towns. Thank you.
I support the council's efforts in this resolution. Residents, as well as the millions of people each year who visit the Grand Canyon and pump crucial dollars into our local economy, will share narrow roads with several trucks a day hauling tons of ore covered only by a tarp. These trucks spewing uranium dust will travel hundreds of miles to Energy Fuels processing mill in Blanding. Uranium deteriorates to radon gas, which attaches itself to dust. The dust can be inhaled or ingested, lodging in the lungs and tissues for years, gestating cancers. The younger you are, the more vulnerable. What becomes of the yellow cake produced at Blanding? Much is earmarked for sale to France and South Korea for their nuclear power programs. In Flagstaff, we are sitting at the front end of the nuclear production line. After the Manhattan Project, the Atomic Energy Commission was set up to promote the alleged peaceful use of the atom. In fact, the AEC, now the Department of Energy, was setting up munitions plants to manufacture plutonium, the end product of nuclear reactors. The energy produced is only a byproduct. Plutonium, the most toxic substance known, has no use except to make nuclear weapons. Energy Fuels, Inc. is one single company that believes it should be allowed to potentially wipe out the Havasupai, desecrate the Grand Canyon, contaminate the drinking water drawn from the Colorado from millions in the Southwest, dust our streets and highways with radioactivity, and ultimately make the world less safe from nuclear war. And it's all being done for the private profit of this Canadian company, not to protect and enhance the quality of life for all. It is up to us, everyday citizens in our small city where the supply side of the nuclear cycle is going on under our noses, to say no to rapacious energy fuels and to the madness of uranium production, even if the gesture is symbolic. Symbols matter. And the resolution will encourage other actions around the region before, as Einstein said, we drift inexorably toward disaster. Considering the drifter-in-chief currently in the White House, we have no time to lose. We are all on the haul route. Thank you.
Good evening, council members. Thank you very much for having me here. My name is Leilani Clark, and I'm a volunteer with the Hall No campaign. I've been continually traveling up here from Tucson, Arizona, where I'm a resident, because I'm one of the 40 million people who is dependent upon the Colorado River water for clean drinking water. And already, just within the Grand Canyon region, there's already been 20 seeps and springs found with a dissolved concentration of uranium above the safe drinking water standards. So that is unacceptable, and we cannot continue for this to happen. The Southwest has a violent legacy of resource extraction without the consent or consultation of indigenous peoples whose lands is desecrated and whose communities are violated. The whole reason why we're in this mess is because Energy Fuels Inc.'s plans of operations for Canyon Mine without the consultation of the Havasupai Nation. What led me to this campaign was when I heard that the 300-mile haul route of poisonous uranium, out of that haul route, 180 miles is across Navajo Nation. My maternal grandmother is from cornfields around the Fort Defiance area, and also due to the fact that I was never able to meet my paternal grandfather, Amarante Silva from Santa Clara Pueblo, Kapawenge, due to the fact that he died from cancer before I was born, due to the exposure he received from radiation when he worked at the Sandia Labs in New Mexico. My family was able to receive compensation due to the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act, but no economic or financial resources will ever make up for the time that I have lost with my grandfather, or to take back the pain that he suffered the last 6 months of his life. No economic incentives or supposed benefits or whatever Energy Fuel Inc. is promising in economic matters can compensate a family's suffering. Just as Mayor Evans boldly stated at the last Flagstaff City Council meeting that this is a civil rights issue, this is very much a civil rights issue that's going to be seen beyond the ages. This is beyond that. This is a human rights issue and a matter between life and death. We thank you for your push for this historic resolution and ask further for an ordinance to be passed. Just as the city of Flagstaff went into a legal battle with the state of Arizona in 2010 to oppose Senate Bill 1070 to represent the rights and dignity of all its residents, we need you to do the same here, to use all of your means as a municipal entity to defy the risk of radiation exposure to the people of Flagstaff and all those community members along the haul route. That is the least that can be done to help right the wrongs of this toxic legacy. pass the resolution, pass the ordinance, do everything you can, because we the people, by any means necessary, will do whatever it takes to prevent trucks carrying poison through our communities. If the resolution does not pass or an ordinance cannot follow, we invite all city council members dedicated to human rights to stand with us as we use our bodies if necessary to stop these energy-fueled trucks, because we will do the same. Thank you all very much.
This resolution is a crucial first step toward keeping uranium-caused cancer away from our communities and other communities from Utah to California. But a resolution is just that, a resolution. It is not enough. At the very least, we need an ordinance. What we really need is an all-out nuclear war on uranium mining and transport at all costs. Our lives and your lives are on the line. I personally need you to fight like your life depends on it, because it does. Please, pass the resolution against uranium in our community, but go further. Stop uranium mining and transport in northern Arizona and across the country and across the world. Thank you very much.
I don't have the greatest of public speaking skills, and I'm quite young, and so I hope that you can forgive me if my voice quakes under this subject, but I was told that I should speak from the heart because this subject is close to me. Like I said, my name is Roman Maestes, such Tishiba Zuzechamani. Now, I'm from Flagstaff, Arizona. I was born and raised here. And I would first like to say that I'm not here under any group or under any tribe or as a representative for any particular reason. I'm here as a concerned citizen and as a concerned person for the fact, and the reason why I'm concerned is because I've been, like the Havasupai people next to me, I have land that is very close and with proximity within the Grand Canyon. I have invested in 40 acres next to it, that is 15.3 miles away from the Grand Canyon, and I plan on making that space a community space for healing, gardens, living, just a space. And with this coming into play, the Grand Canyon mine in itself, I'm sorry, like I said, I'm not good at speaking publicly. With this coming to play, I won't be able to continue any of those further plans. My property will be unusable because it is completely downwind to this mine. And the reason why I bring up a subject like a space that's so far away from Flagstaff is because I just wanted to say, I'm not here to give you some jargon, I'm not here to convince you of anything. I just would like to say that as a city council here today, with this appeal, you have the opportunity to give an example to our neighboring communities on how to step away and how to step up against these unsustainable resources and these unsustainable ways of living. And that I would just like to give you some food for thought and some encouragement for the fact that this is, like my companion Leilani said, this is a lot bigger than just Flagstaff. This is a lot more, this is a lot grander than just a mining company. This is the civil rights. This involves our civil rights. This involves our human rights. This involves everybody that's been invested in this land out here that we call home. Every single one of us is invested in this land that we call home, Arizona. And with that being said, we all have to share this space and we all have to share this home, and we have to give, like a family, we have to give examples. We have to show each other this greater way. And I'm so sorry for my voice is trembling. I'm just trying to speak. But I just thank you for your time, and thank you for even considering this repeal. Like I said, giving an example. You're giving a really good example, a really empowering example. Thank you.
On the other side, Energy Fuels, nuclear owner of Canyon Mine, has shown complete disrespect for local communities. I spent a day last week going through records at ADQ. Although mine records from the 1980s demonstrate clear knowledge of abundant water at 1,100 feet below the surface, permit applications since 2007 have omitted this information. Subsequently, when the mine pierced the Coconino Aquifer in 2016, Energy Fuels failed to notify nearby water suppliers in Tucson, downstream residents in Supai Village. When the mine began exporting uranium and arsenic-contaminated water through the Navajo Nation to Utah by a truck, they neglected to tell the Navajo Nation so they could prepare an emergency response. They neglected to mark the vehicles to identify the water so people did not know what was passing through their towns. They have shown complete disrespect for the people of northern Arizona. And the Forest Service has refused to complete an adequate tribal consultation with the Havasupai tribe, despite decades of pleas from the tribe. This short-sighted and short-term operation will complete mining in just a few years, but recent USGS research has shown that soil contamination will spike after the reclamation is complete, and it will remain there long after the mine is gone. Jobs will only last a short while. Already they've laid off a bunch of workers following an accident this year, and mining operations at other regional mines have only lasted a few years each. The city of Flagstaff should use its voice in any way it can to oppose these harmful mines. The water and dust contamination will last forever. Health impacts will linger long after the ore trucks are gone. Damage to cultural sites will be unforgivable. So we are supportive of this resolution and any efforts you can take to protect northern Arizona from uranium mining impacts. But we do encourage some language with more specific mention of the offensive and dangerous placement of canyon mine without adequate consultation with the Havasupai tribe and the environmental injustice posed by this and other mines. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Cecily Shaddy, and I'm a lifelong resident of Flagstaff. I attend Flagstaff High School, and I am a representative of the Flagstaff High School Youth Environmental Advocacy Club. Thank you for considering this resolution tonight. Allowing the transport of uranium ore through Flagstaff would not only endanger the community and put us at high risk of a spill, but it would also enable environmentally damaging mining and milling processes to continue. We must pass this resolution to be followed by an ordinance to prevent uranium mining from continuing. 25 trucks traveling both ways from mine to mill every day will journey 300 miles, carrying 30 tons of radioactive ore. These trucks will only be covered by tarps. Even though these trucks could be made safer by improving the containers, this doesn't solve the root of the problem. The true problem here is the toxic contamination caused by the uranium mines and mill, which the hauling enables. As a young person, it would feel ridiculous not to be worried about the damaging effects on water quality the Canyon Mine and White Mesa Mill could have in their regions. 40 million people depend on the Colorado River for safe drinking water. Yet samples taken by the U.S. Geological Survey show that 15 springs and 5 wells within the Grand Canyon's watershed show very elevated dissolved uranium concentrations. If we allow uranium transport through town, we are complicit in the slow poisoning of water in this region for future generations and young people for years to come. I ask you to pass a resolution and an ordinance to take the first steps in correcting this terribly dangerous situation. By slowing the ability of uranium to pass between mine and mill, we slow the process of dangerous environmental contamination. Thank you.
Hello, I am Robin Bradley, and I am from right here in Flagstaff, Arizona. I'm here today to voice my opinion on this topic because I am only in high school, and decisions like this are going to affect me for the rest of my life. I ask you, City Council, to pass this resolution to ban uranium trucks from traveling on city roads, but I also ask you to take this one step further and pass an ordinance that bans the trucks as well to protect citizens not only in Flagstaff, but also in neighboring communities from the effects of uranium mining and its transport. Uranium mining, as you know, is an extremely dangerous process from start to finish. Nearly 40 million people depend on the Colorado River for drinking water, and the Canyon Mine will put them in danger. And that is only from the mine itself. The transport of this uranium, which will go through several Arizona communities, including Flagstaff, is known to leak uranium along its route. In January of this year, there was a van transporting uranium which had 3 barrels leaking radioactive material when it arrived at the White Mesa Mill. The White Mesa Mill itself is a danger to the people living near it. The linings of the cells of the mill are made of very thin plastic with a lifespan of only 20 years. These linings haven't been replaced since the 1980s, putting the people who live near the mill in serious danger. From start to finish, uranium mining and its transport are a danger to all of us. Once again, I ask you to pass this resolution and an ordinance banning uranium trucks from going through our town to prevent the horrific effects of uranium mining. Thank you.
Before you begin, you have indicated that you are going to be speaking on behalf of a group of 10 or more people. Can the individuals that are listed on this card please stand? Thank you. With that, clerk, can you please set the time to 10 minutes?
Wow, 10 minutes. I thought it was going to be 5. Okay. Good evening. My name is Ophelia Wadahamaji-Corliss. I am a Havasupai Tribal Council member. I had the opportunity to speak in front of you, mayor, vice mayor, council members, general counsel, secretaries, public constituents on stream and in person. I thank you and am obliged for your time. I would like to thank the tribal members here today for allowing me to speak on their behalf, and as always, speaking on behalf of the Havasupai people. I really don't think I'm going to take 10 minutes, but I would like to commend every individual who has come up. Their facts, their information, the trembling of their voices, and their emotions are extremely important. We also support the passing of this resolution. There is no need to echo the facts that you've already heard, but to reiterate, and maybe you'll hear emotion in my voice, that we continue to implore you legally to think about passing an ordinance. I read the newspaper article that stated you would face federal issues in passing an ordinance, but there is also power in trying to create precedent that is for the people, for a positive movement that will last lifetimes after your term. As you have in front of you already the letter that we passed out, I would like to read it for our streamers and other individuals in the council room for their public information. The Havasupai Tribal Council has written a letter in regards to a collaboration between the Havasupai tribe and the city of Flagstaff. Dear Mayor Evans, Vice Mayor Whalen, and Flagstaff City Council members, for longer than 40 years, the Havasupai tribe has consistently used whatever means we have to oppose uranium mining on the Colorado Plateau. We see the mining of uranium and heavy metals in our area as a threat to our waters, our land, our sacred sites, and our very survival as a people. We are greatly encouraged to see that the Flagstaff City Council has also taken a stance in opposition to uranium mining, including supporting the fight against the Canyon Mine haul route, banning the hauling of uranium ore through the city of Flagstaff, and supporting Indigenous social justice groups. You have also advocated on behalf of the Northern Arizona mineral withdrawal, the 2012 ban that protects more than 1 million acres of land from new mining operations, and which plays a vital part in the protection of our region. At your October 10th meeting, you expressed interest in creating a government-to-government relationship between the city of Flagstaff and the Havasupai tribe, so that we may coordinate efforts to petition state and federal governments for updated, stricter, and more health-conscious regulations of the nuclear industry, including the Canyon Mine. As you know, the Trump administration is currently considering effectively lifting the mineral withdrawal. This makes our cooperation all the more urgent. We all call this land home and need to join together in the efforts to protect our citizens and environments from the adverse effects of mining uranium. We welcome the idea to join forces and have our voices heard together, and accept your invitation to build our government-to-government relationship between the Havasupai Tribal Council and the Flagstaff City Council, during which we can discuss ideas about how to most effectively collaborate and coordinate our efforts. As you see, the letter is signed by our tribal chairman, Don E. Wadahamadi. I have with me 5 other tribal council members here. We are here in public support in passing of your resolution. We are also here in public support to implore you to think about passing an ordinance. I would like to thank the Flagstaff City Council for also adding this to your legislative agenda, and look forward to conversing and finding a solution in any way possible in regards to the Canyon Mine haul route, and mining uranium in the Grand Canyon region. Thank you for your time.
Many, many years ago, in the 80s, I stood before the council, you guys in particular, but the other council, to create a nuclear-free zone in the city of Flagstaff, which was created. That was during the time that Yucca Mountain was going on, and there was great fear that what happens when these trucks or these trains would have an accident, and the people of Flagstaff and the residents, the animals, the water would be contaminated. I'm hoping and urging that this resolution gets passed to continue with the nuclear-free zone, and also throughout the reservations. On October 11th, I co-produced a forum on uranium at the Museum of Northern Arizona, where the president of the Navajo Nation, Russell Begay, the head of the EPA of Navajo Nation, Hopi Vice Chairman, and Havasupai tribal members all attended, and also Coconino County. I didn't know if anybody from the Flagstaff City Council had attended or not, but what they had discussed was unifying together to fight ADOT, which basically holds a lot of weight on saying who can go through the roads and what trucks can. There are a couple of other points I wanted to make, and what I did learn at that forum was that Energy Fuels Nuclear also owns the White Mills processing plant. They're the same people. This is kind of tricky of when one corporation seems to control all of this. The other one is to protect our future generations from any of the contamination spills. Obviously, uranium mining is not a good idea. We need to leave it in the ground. But our future generations, your children, your grandchildren, your great-great-grandchildren, they will all be affected if you continue and allow these trucks to come through all of the lands. So unify, please work for the tribes, work together, let's fight the beasts, and let's stop this. Thank you.
Good. The resolution is very important, but it's kind of toothless without an ordinance that says what the city will do and activates the city in doing something to block the transport of the city lands. Accidents happen, period. Before moving to Flagstaff, I worked as a middle manager of the multimedia department in Price Waterhouse. One day, somebody in my department made a mistake on a presentation for somebody. The partner was livid. He insisted that I write a memo explaining how no mistakes would ever occur again. I choked on that because it was absurd, the concept that accidents don't happen. Accidents will happen. And these accidents, even if they're less significant accidents, will shift the perception of people traveling to Flagstaff and doing business with Flagstaff and others in the region. Time is of the essence in passing the ordinance.
because any day the transport could start. Even a minor accident will shift people's perception as to the safety of living here, visiting here, investing here. I urge you, greatest urgency for the survival, not only of us individuals, but of this town, this economy, and the region's economy, to act quickly on an ordinance. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Winona Benali. I currently serve as the Arizona State Representative for Legislative District 7. And I'm here tonight on behalf of not only myself, but my two colleagues who also serve with me in the Arizona Legislature, Representative Eric H. Cheatney and State Senator Jim C. DePeschlagai. We support the adoption of resolution number 2017-38, opposing the transportation of uranium ore through the city of Flagstaff and indigenous lands. Our district is notoriously known for its toxic legacy of uranium mining. All across our district, there are numerous abandoned mines, dumping sites, and contaminated groundwater wells. On the Navajo Nation alone, for example, there are over 500 abandoned mining sites. 50 years later, our people are suffering from lung and bone cancer, kidney damage, and our babies are being born with birth defects. Like many stories you have heard here tonight, my uncle worked in uranium mines in New Mexico, and he died from cancer last year. Remediation work has been going on for the last 10 to 15 years, but there seems to be no end in sight to the cleanup. Nor is there an end to the millions and millions of dollars that are being spent to clean up the mess that has been left behind by these companies that are no longer in existence. And this is by far the biggest problem we're dealing with these mining companies. They never stick around long enough to be held financially accountable for the mess they leave behind. Arguments have been made about the so-called best practices that will be followed when transporting this hazardous material, but the reality is that there's no real safe way to transport such finely ground ore, especially when such fine particles will be hauled in the bed of a large truck covered only by a tarp barreling down the highway. This radioactive dust will inevitably find its way to the side of our roads, where it will be kicked up over and over again by passing vehicles and breathed in by all of us. The cycle of poisoning will continue if we don't take a stand now against the transportation of this deadly, toxic material. We encourage the city to join us in taking this stand. We are here to work with you in developing ways to keep this from the transportation from continuing on. Sorry. I thank you for the opportunity to come before you tonight to speak on this matter. Thank you again for this opportunity to have.
Tonight in speaking, and I just want to say that we're really going to need your help as we try to advocate at the state for changes in ways that government. Let's coalition together and make some changes happen.
Although, of course, we represent Legislative District 7, but we are absolutely here with you. We are ready to take this fight on, and yes, our doors open. Please come.
Good evening, Diné, City Council. It's good to see you again. It sounds like you are making an effort and taking a step and standing with us, and listening to our voices and raising a resolution, and that's good. And it's something my grandma would appreciate, my grandmas and my grandpas. And because they're the ones that taught me how to walk peacefully, how to walk traditionally, how to understand the leaves and the trees, and how to communicate with them. Something that we learn with our prayer and ceremony, something that we carry with us, and it's that connection with the earth, the sky, the water, and the rivers. And we tried so hard to defend the land and take care of it. And we've grown, not weak, but we've just grown stale at the moment. And we're thankful and grateful that you are there to stand with us and be there with us. As a wise man once said, and not just a wise man, but people once said, one stick can bend and break, but a bundle of sticks, you can't bend or break them. So I'm very grateful that you are here tonight to listen to our voices, Indigenous or non, people of color or non. We are here and we shall always be here because we are of the land, because we are the children of the earth, the sky, the universe. And most of all, we're the children of the next generation, as I speak to myself. And please, do as what you can to do more than what you can to stand for issues like this. And maybe even after this, we can abolish mining, abolish resources and protect the land and defend the sacred. So please, I ask of you with the human spirit that we all have and we are all given from birth to now, that you and we shall move again like how water is. We can flow or we can crash. Okay, thank you.
I have lived here, but Flagstaff and Grand Canyon and all of the tribes represented here tonight, who I also pay my highest respects to, Havasupai, Nations, Diné and Havasupai, I believe are all here. I've been rooted in my consciousness for about 20 years, since the first time I came through here on a cross-country bike ride to raise awareness about the impacts of uranium mining on the Havasupai, with 13 others, including 12 of them being women. Fast forward to the last 7 years, I've served as the lead for public engagement at the United Nations as an advisor to the Secretary General and the President of the General Assembly. As part of that work, I made it my priority to elevate the voices of Indigenous peoples by providing opportunities for them to come and represent their views on issues that would affect them. And I came here now today before you to invoke the United Nations rights of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. Article 32, paragraphs 2 and 3, I want to put into the record and for everyone's awareness for follow-up on this issue. These paragraphs read, states shall consult and cooperate in good faith with the Indigenous peoples concerned through their own representative institutions in order to obtain their free and informed consent prior to the approval of any project affecting their lands or territories and other resources, particularly in connection with the development, utilization, or exploitation of mineral, water, or other resources. Paragraph 3, states shall provide effective mechanisms for just and fair redress for any such activities, and appropriate measures shall be taken to mitigate adverse environmental, economic, social, cultural, or spiritual impact. So, having said that, why did I move to Flagstaff? I left a very good job at the United Nations, though I still am retained as an advisor, to work for the Grand Canyon Trust, your esteemed organization locally here, who have an astounding program of supporting Indigenous peoples here to defend their rights against adverse exploitation. So I am proud to be a resident of Flagstaff because you are considering this resolution. On arrival to see this really heartened me, and I would be even happier if you would pass it tonight. Thank you very much.
So I would like to add a recital before all of those recitals that says, whereas the transportation of uranium ore, I'll give you a chance to catch up. Through Flagstaff could put Flagstaff residents at risk. And then, of course, a semicolon and an and. All right, so that's the first recital. On the next one, the one where your cursor is, I want to add 2 words. and I'll tell you when I get to them. Whereas advocating for this, for and supporting actions that lead to the advancement of social, add the words, and environmental justice, and go on.
Yeah.
I'll just point out that was Ms. Purcell's suggestion. I've kind of taken some of mine, some of hers, and combined them. Let's see. The next one down, again, I'm going to add a couple words. Whereas in meetings with various indigenous community members and then add the words regional tribal nation neighbors. Okay, and then after that one, add a new whereas statement that says, ready? Whereas the City Council supports the Havasupai tribe's opposition to uranium mining, comma, and the transport of ore, comma, in the Grand Canyon region. All right, 4, 5, okay. The next whereas.
Councilmember McCarthy, sorry to interrupt, but for
Sure.
specificity's sake, I think it should be uranium ore, because that's what the
Where is it?
transport of uranium ore.
Oh. Opposition to, and transport of uranium ore, yes, absolutely. Thank you. Okay. And the next one, the one that's on the top there. Whereas the mayor and city council of Flagstaff, and then delete the words, have a history of supporting indigenous communities. So now we'll read, whereas the mayor and city council of Flagstaff, and add words, have historically opposed actions furthering radioactive pollution in the region, including, and then the rest of it, no edits. The next group of whereas read as is. Okay, now getting down to the now therefore statement on the next page. All right. So the first that would be that the Flagstaff City Council affirms its opposition to uranium mining and the transport of, I'll just read it and you tell me if you're following. To uranium mining and the transport of uranium ore from Canyon Mine to the White Mesa Uranium Mill near Blandy, Utah.
Councilmember McCarthy, I believe it was uranium ore and other radioactive materials in the petition.
So
we can add those words.
That's fine. So this would be that the Flagstaff City Council affirms its opposition to uranium mining and the transport of uranium ore and other radioactive materials. Did I read that right? Okay, from Canyon Mine to the White Mesa Uranium Mine near Blandy's, blah, blah.
All right, can you say that one more time?
Okay. That the Flagstaff City Council affirms its opposition to uranium mining and the transport of uranium ore and other radioactive materials from Canyon Mine to the White Mesa They say uranium mill near Blanding, Utah.
In your mind, the wide,
Okay.
the wide.
That the Flagstaff City Council affirms its opposition to uranium mining and the transport of uranium ore and other radioactive materials from the Canyon Mine to White Mesa, near Blanding.
Near Blanding, Utah?
What happened to those words about nuclear free zone? Is that covered somewhere else?
There's a correction that needs to be made that the Flagstaff City Council affirms, to take out they affirms its opposition.
And we'll go back through this and wordsmith this and make sure it's grammatically correct.
And reaffirms Flagstaff as a nuclear-free zone. I guess that isn't in the draft I have here. It does make sense. Is it somewhere else?
It's in the original.
Okay, it's in the original. Okay, that's right. Okay. We're almost done, folks. The next one should read, be it further resolved that the Flagstaff City Council desires to actively work to advance social and environmental justice for the indigenous community and I think it should be stands, ready to engage in conversations and take actions that support solutions that directly benefit the indigenous community. And I think that's it. No, one more. In the last statement, I wanted to add it, this is the one right before it says passed and adopted. Furthermore, the Flagstaff City Council calls upon the United States Department of Transportation to strike the word change and add the word review. So it would be the United States Department of Transportation to review its policies and statutes on the transport of hazardous materials, specifically uranium, to protect northern Arizona and its diverse population, and then add, from any transport leakage, semicolon, and change the policies as appropriate. Now I'll shut up.
Ms. Barrett?
So, on the last change that Councilmember McCarthy proposed, I would propose to say it more directly and simply say that we should change the policies, because obviously the policies are inadequate as they're written. So we should ask the United States Department of Transportation to change the policies on the transport of hazardous materials to protect uranium, to protect northern Arizona and its diverse population. Period.
Okay, and then so it would strike out after transport leakage.
Right.
That's a good change. No,
And take out the front end.
leave in the two words transport leakage. I think those are critical. The idea is basically we want to make sure if they're going to be trucking this, that we don't have leakage. And we're not convinced that that's happening right now. Yes, believe that.
Ms. Pizzolo?
I think it's very specific. What if the change really needs to be that there shouldn't be any transportation of uranium? Leaving it without that clarification is not predetermining what that policy change should be.
So, may I comment to that? So, I agree that we should not have any uranium transportation. But if we cannot make that happen, then we need to have them upgrade the way they do transport it, if and only if they're going to transport it. I mean, to say, quit transporting it, that's probably not going to happen, to be honest.
Ms. Barrett.
Well, if the majority wants to focus on the transportation issue in this particular furthermore sentence, then I would not specify transport leakage. I would just say that it should be to make transport safe, because it may not be leakage, there may be other issues. So I think leakage is actually too narrow. It should be broader.
Because that doesn't address accidents or whatever.
Well, yeah, I just think we should look at safety overall, not just the issue of leakage from the truck.
Well, shall we just say to ensure safety?
Mm-hmm.
We do say to protect.
How about it?
Council? Ms. Pitova?
Well, I think the original clause was just fine the way it was.
I guess what I'm getting at is that if we can't stop the transportation, and that's a real possibility, then we need to have them improve their safety measures and, their charts or whatever.
And that's what it says, change its policies and statutes on the transport of hazardous materials, specifically uranium. That's what it says. It's broad, it captures all kinds of issues related to transport.
We just want to draw focus to the idea of the leakage, is that correct, Jim?
Well, I think that's important.
Yeah. But if that one statement does.
So, Emma, you would suggest
including leakage.
No, to protect Northern Arizona and diverse population. That's the purpose. Then we want change in policy.
We could do that, or we could leave in from any transport leakage or other possibilities. I don't know. We're getting down into the weeds now.
Let's go with the original way it was written. Council? Are we going to entertain a motion? Ms. Barrett?
So I move that the Flagstaff City Council adopt the resolution opposing uranium mining and the transportation of uranium ore through the city of Flagstaff and indigenous lands, and reaffirming Flagstaff as a nuclear-free zone.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion made by Ms. Pitova.
Actually, it needs to be as amended, and it needs to be for a reading of.
As amended.
And the motion is to read.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So my motion is to read, I'm not going to restate what we're reading.
Right.
As amended.
As amended.
Second.
There's been a motion made by Ms. Barrett and a second by Ms. Pitova. Is there any further comments? Ms. Barrett?
So before we take the vote on the resolution, I just want to remind everyone that this is just the beginning and that we're going to need all of you to help us through the various processes at the state and federal level if we're going to make meaningful changes over the next several years, that we're not going to see results in one legislative session. It may be several years, and I can't begin to speculate, but the City Council certainly cannot do it alone. So I just invite all of you to stay engaged. This is the beginning of Woo! Woo!
resolution, we are committing to actually take action, and I'd like to propose very specific actions. So we are in Congressional District 1 in Arizona. There are 435 congressional districts in the United States, and our congressional district has the greatest percentage of Native Americans from among all districts. That's very, very important. I think it's very important that we focus on action that can advance for real the social and economic justice of the Native American community. And so I would like us as a council to work with our representative, Tom O'Halloran, on a number of things that you brought to us, like to protect the withdrawal of public lands from new mining claims. I think we should explore how we can work together on closure on the canyon mine. I think we should also work with our representatives, Denali, Hashlakai, and Nishini, on what we can do at the state level. And again, take very specific action and commit to engaging with our state and congressional partners. And if somebody doesn't want to move with us this direction, then find other representatives and other partners. But I know, at least from Representative Benally that she and her colleagues are ready. So I think just to be more specific, not just that you're passing the resolution and then we'll see what happens. So I would like the council's support of those actions.
Council? So I do want to say something as well before we take the last vote. So we've received, first of all, thank you everybody for being here again. Some of you have indicated that you've been here many times, not just on this particular time, but as far back as the 80s, if not before. And so I want to say I appreciate your diligence and your watchfulness when it comes to this particular issue. We've received many cards. Some of you spoke and some of you did not. We've received cards that are blue cards, and those are individuals who have something to say, but they don't necessarily want to speak. One card we got, I'm going to kind of paraphrase it. I'm not going to call your name, but it really evoked some thoughts, and I just want to make sure that I share them with you tonight. So there's an individual that stated that the idea of this council taking up resolution 2017-38 is unconstitutional. And they said it was because our city attorney advised us at our last meeting that the city has no jurisdiction over this issue. Specifically, current laws dictate that the transportation of uranium ore is regulated by the Arizona Department of Transportation and the Federal Transportation Department. That's true. The transportation of ore is currently regulated by those two entities. But I want to talk about the constitutionality and the legality part of it. In his letter in the Birmingham jail, Dr. King writes about something that he calls just and unjust laws. He makes it clear that there is a distinction between the two of them. And to paraphrase Dr. King, he said that a just law is a man-made code that squares with the moral law or the law of God or some higher power. He says that an unjust law is a code that is out of harmony with moral law. I would say that in this country, historically, we have seen several laws over the course of time be changed or overturned because we, the people, have determined that they were unjust. We, the people, have determined that they were out of harmony with moral law. I would like to say for myself personally that I think the legacy of uranium mining in northern Arizona is unjust. I believe that this is clearly shown through the route that this ore takes. I believe that it's clearly shown through the levels of cancer and cancer-related deaths experienced by the indigenous people in our region. I think that when you look at other areas of our country, and you look at the levels of illness and sickness, that there's definitely got to be something that's out of harmony. with moral law. And with that, I'm looking at my council now, and I want to say that I really would like for this to be a 7-0 vote.
Yeah.
I realize that some of us may have some concerns. I realize that some of us may not agree with everything here. But one thing that I heard again tonight, as well as last time, is that we have indigenous neighbors that have been fighting and asking for relief on this issue for decades, for generations. And they are asking us, as one of the largest cities, that's the largest city in northern Arizona, to help them. They say that they're getting tired of carrying the load by themselves, and they believe if we help them, they may be able to find some relief. I realize to some individuals that this might not be a Flagstaff specific issue, but we are the largest city in northern Arizona, and people look to us to set an example. They also come here, and they are part of our community. We are not a standalone city. So as we move forward with this vote, I'm asking us as council members to consider making a very bold statement and giving the community a 7-0, which is what I believe the community needs. With that, we have a motion made by Ms. Barrett and a second by Ms. Pizzolo. Is there any further discussion? Council, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Thank you.
And make sure that Energy Fuels knows they're not welcome anywhere on this earth.